So in this, yeah, so I will tell you, no worries, guys. So in this course, we will tell you something like a initial Linux plus AWS plus DevOps. So what we will discuss is something like so what is a data structure environment, something like a data center environment, cloud environment, and so the why DevOps uses. So something like basically we need a Linux basic we need something like how we install the Linux, how we interact with the Linux guys. So then cloud. So why cloud? Why it came? So what is the features of the cloud? So then so the cloud providers. So we will learn in this course AWS cloud. So what are the services are there? So we'll discuss it. And DevOps tools. Yeah. So you already seen, right, a DevOps school full course. In that full course, the modules are nothing but a DevOps overview. So version control system using GitHub. So continuous integration using Jenkins. So continuous containerization using Docker. What is a Docker? Why we need Docker? So before the Docker, we use something like a VM virtualization. Before virtualization, so the physical environment, physical servers. So physical servers too. Also the innovative thought comes, and then the future comes in the virtualization. The innovative from virtualization to containerization. What is containerization? So why we need containerization? What is virtualization? Also why we need virtualization? So and Docker in the sense. So if you run a Docker, so we don't know how we can archive. So how we can something like monitoring, we don't know something like for that there is a new feature called something like a Docker Swarm. So Docker Swarm having few disadvantages, and then they innovate a thought or something like a Kubernetes. Kubernetes was developed by Google. So what is Kubernetes? So what is Ansible? What is Puppet? What is Ansible, Puppet, Chef, or something like a. So we'll discuss in this course Ansible, something like why we need a Ansible. So the configuration management tools and IAC tools, something like a Terraform. So the monitoring tools, something like an Nagios. These are the tools we will discuss. I will show you something like. Yeah. So what is AWS? What are the services are in the AWS? What is the history of AWS? What is the test cases? So Terraform IAC tools, and we will discuss about this. And the Ansible parts, we will discuss Ansible. Mm, so then we will discuss VPCs in the AWS, all the services, something like compute services. Uh, Something like S3, RDS, VPC, IAM. We will discuss the main services, something like how we can automate the services. Okay, guys. So these are the tools and Linux also. We will discuss about the Linux also. So initially we will start the Linux and the Linux and the architecture of the data center environment. What is IaaS? What is PaaS? What is SaaS? So in data center we are using only IaaS, infrastructure as a service. What they are providing. So why we need a data center? Why we need to keep our servers into the data center? So we will tell you in this course. Okay, guys, understood, right? And Linux also something like a Linux fundamentals and scripting benefits. What are the why we need so help with infrastructure automation, key concept in DevOps. So many DevOps tools on the tools in the configuration management have their architecture based on the Linux master nodes. So Kubernetes, containers, everything, AWS, every cloud, something based on the cloud. How it became something like a based on that Linux only. Linux is a open source environment, so everyone took that source code and create their own customized Linux is also. So and also Linux is a open source a tool, something like a free of cost tools. Yeah, guys. What is a DevOps? DevOps overview. something like a waterfall versus agile method, something like who knows, something like Suresh, I think, right? Suresh, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Suresh, you know, right? What is the difference between waterfall and agile methodology?
Yes. Do I
Yeah.
really need to say? Uh,
No worries. Yeah, yeah, you can tell me what is the difference between
okay.
waterfall and agile.
So waterfalls is it's a waterfalls, right? So it goes from one stage to the other stage. So
Mm.
from analysis, once we done, we go to planning, then design, build, test, and deploy. So it falls one after other, right? That is
Yes.
waterfalls. So we have a certain time for each and goes, but agile is normally, at least in my company I'm working, it's 2 weeks.
Mm.
So 2 weeks we also do the what is it, the planning,
Mm-hmm.
design, build,
Mm-hmm.
test, and deploy. So deploy happens every 2 weeks.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's I mean, in waterfalls you have the entire project split into it and do it, but in agile it's not the same way. You take what is required at that time and then you build it. Um, so suppose there is a change that comes from the product owner. In
Mm-hmm.
waterfalls, it will be really really hard to change that design when it is in the build
Yes.
phase. But
Yes.
in
Yes.
agile, it's like, okay, this build has come. Okay, I can pull this story and I can put another story and put it in the backlog, analysis,
Mm-hmm.
plan, and we do that. I hope I
That
shared.
yes. Yes. Very good. Very good. It's exactly correct. But the people are doesn't know what is SDLC. Why need SDLC? Something like right. I will tell you is that. So SDLC. SDLC is nothing but why. So something like SDLC. So SDLC is nothing but a software development life cycle. The software development like a cycle. So something like it supports a waterfall model and agile methodology. What is SDLC? SDLC is nothing but a analyze something like, for example, if you take the WhatsApp, does so all of you knows that WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is a app application API application, so it creates how it creates through the SDLC. So SDLC means software development cycle. So before there is no WhatsApp, right? Before there is no WhatsApp in the mobile, there will be so there was a something like a normal messages. So normal messages, a Troy or something like they will decide how much amount of for a message, and we don't know how to something like so something like it forwarded or not, something like we didn't get the response, something like if the recipient received that message, then he will send the message, then only we can know the message is sent to the people, target people. And so I'm thinking something like I'm thinking like I need to create a app for this messages, something like first I need to analyze, right, how much cost, for the something like sim providers, so the providers how much they cost, something like, for example, in India, so Airtel, Geo, something like in US, AT&T, some of the that telecom service providers, they decided how much amount for sending a message and receiving message, how much per day, something like there will be some limitations and policies. So I want something like it will be a cost for every message, something like before starting it will be a 1 rupee or 1 rupee or something like. So I decided to create a app for that, application, a app for that messages, something like so first I need to analyze that what is the requirement, then we need to plan. So plan something like I will show you guys what. Yeah. So this is a SDLC. SD, SDLC. SDLC means software software development life cycle. Software development life cycle. How we can develop a software by using this a software development life cycle. This is the SDLC analysis: plan, design, build, test, and deploy. So plan, test, and deploy. What is this? Something like analysis, design, plan, design, build, test, and deploy. Something like this is the stage of analyze. So this is the stage of plan. This is the stage of design. This is the stage of build. This is the stage of test. So this is the stage of deploy. Yeah, analysis something like I got the analysis. I already got the analysis and requirements gathering. Something like they and plan how we can plan. Something like and some architecture team plan that something like this is my part WhatsApp WhatsApp.com WhatsApp. So I'm trying to adapt. I'm trying to develop a WhatsApp application. So what are the plan? So what are the plans? So plan is nothing but a something like so what are the resources we need to use? We need to use for creating the application. For example, which language need to develop this application? Something like Java. So what is the web server? We need to take the web server Tomcat. So what is the voice we need for this? Something like a Java. So what is the physical architecture we need? Something like a Dell PowerEdge. So R710 and the Java Tomcat, Dell PowerEdge, something like. So which OS we need we need for this deploying this tool? So something like a CentOS 7, Tomcat, Java Tomcat, Dell PowerEdge. Yeah. So these are the plans. These are the plans. Something like so we can deploy our application. So we can deploy our application with these tools. So something like in the design, our design part, how we can make this, how we can make this application. So the design part, something like a there will be a three, right? In the WhatsApp initially it starts. So only I think only two, chat and contacts. The design part is chat and contacts. In the design part, so chat and contacts, they will be designing. In the build part, something like a developers. So developers in the developer, something like they take the module. So one module for chat, one module for contacts. So something like these two developers are working on this, a chat and so, chat and contacts. Chat and contact. These are the two modules. A developer develop that modules and build and test. Something like a tester in the test, something like a QA team. So testers. So testers will build something like a developers build that code and deploy it on the development environment. Then so it will be deployed in the QA environment. The QA environment will be tested by the testers. So we'll confirm. Then we can go to the app production. We can go to the deploy into the production. So once we deploy the production, so the live something like a www dot so www dot whatsapp.com. So once you click on the browser, so this is the browser. Once we click on the browser, once we deploy in the production environment, so production environment, something like this is the server. So this is the center server. We deployed something like we deploy a code on the Tomcat web server. Once we hit that, so this is the web server. So this is the application server or a web server. Tomcat is the web server. So web server, our code will be deployed on this in this mission, something like the WhatsApp. So this will be a CentOS. 7 OS, and it will be a Dell coverage, Dell Dell coverage R710 server. So in the Dell coverage R710, there is a server. In the server, so installed on the CentOS 7. In the CentOS 7, something like we installed a Java Tomcat on the server. Then we deployed our code in the web server, where we need to deploy our code. For example, web server web server is a Tomcat. For example, Tomcat default path for to deploy our application is something like OPT Tomcat web apps. In the web apps, something like there will be a build that code, right? Something like a var or jar. For example, WhatsApp, WhatsApp.jar or var. So, so we were deploying your deploying our code, something like whatever the code developers develop that code. We need to build that code and something like a rar or var. So then, so deploy it on the deploy it on the web server. So whatever the web server, so whatever the code will be there in the web server. So you need to see in the web browser. So a browser where we need to see our application, a web browser. The browser. Something like in your web browser, in your laptop, something like in your mobile, you will go to the Google or something like in the Google www.whatsapp.com. In the Chrome, you can open that Chrome, the www.whatsapp.com. So if you hit that whatsapp.com, it will search where our web WhatsApp code is deployed on this. So it will search on the something like a Google, something like it will target to the a requested server, something like this is the server we deployed our WhatsApp deployed on this server. So once you hit this in the browser, in our browser www.whatsapp.com, it automatically hit to the web server. Then we can get the pages through HTTPS or HTTP. So HTTP or HTTPS. HTTP and HTTPS means HTTP is nothing but a hypertext transfer protocol. What is this? Hypertext. So whatever we are seeing in the web browser, that pages are in the HTTP pages. Hypertext pages. Hypertext pages. So the if you want to transfer something like if you hit the so it will come here something like a index page of the in login page of the WhatsApp. So once you log into the WhatsApp, then it will get that response from here and get the your profile something like your WhatsApp. Right. So these are the stages of a analysis, plan, design, build, test, and deploy. So initially it starts as it everything will be manually. So everything will be a manually. So everything will be manually. Something like this manual process is nothing but a waterfall model. So model. Waterfall model. So what is agile model? So once comes into the agile model, so there will be a automation came. There will be a DevOps came. There will be a DevOps came. For example, Git. So something like whatever the developer develop that code will be pushed to the code will be push it to the Git repository. So we'll push it to the Git repository. Then, so there is so something like before that, how we can deploy, how we can integrate. So how we can integrate is nothing but there will be a integration deployment. So integration deployment, everything will be manual. Everything will be manual. Integration means something like whatever the developer develop that code. So push it to the Git repository. Then the developer take that code and build the var or jar. Something like we need to var or jar, right? How we can build it. So how we can integrate it. How an integration or a build. How we can build it. So there is a solution called a Maven tool is there. So you can use that Maven and so whatever the code. So he write it the code in the Java, right? Something like a dot Java. So dot Java, it converts from dot Java to dot Java to something like a dot var or dot jar. So web server recognizes something like a Tomcat web server recognizes a jar or dot var. So extension only. So we need to integrate. So we need to integrate from Java to dot Java to a dot var. So something like who will do. So a build tool is do something like a Maven. So we need to install an Maven on one of the server. We need to build that server. We need to build that code into the var or jar. So after that deployment. So deployment, so who will do the deployments? This is the developer. A developer will do the up to integration. Who will deploy our code into the server. So our code into the server. There is a operations team. Operations means something like a Linux engineer or a Windows engineer. So whatever the server we are deploying, so something like we are deploying our code into the Windows mission. So Windows engineer. So who will admin this? Something like a Linux server. So Linux engineer, a Linux administrator. So admin the Linux servers. So who are having the access to that server? Something like, for example, a Linux engineer, operations engineer. Operations means a Linux or Windows engineers having the access to these servers. So who will deploy the our application? So integration part. So we'll do so something like a developer. Developer will do the integration part, something like a dot or dot jar, dot var tag. But the development, so deployment, operations team. So operations team, either Linux engineer or something like a center is right. For example, a Linux engineer. So Linux engineer will deploy our code into the code into the server. So something like deployment will be a developer will be integration. Deployment will be operations engineer. So the operations engineer. So something like so limitations of waterfall model. Now you got it right, means guys. So waterfall model is nothing but a manual. Everything will be manual intervention. So agile methodology is nothing but a so automation comes in the agile methodology, something like iteration. So what is the advantages? What is the disadvantage of waterfall model? Something like a high amounts of risk and uncertainty. High amounts of risk and uncertainty. Something like a no working software is produced until the late during the life cycle. So already Suresh said right that if in the building stage there will be a issue came, definitely we need to go to starting. So no working software is produced until the late during life cycle. Something like once an application is in testing stage, it is very difficult to go back and change the something that was not well throughout in the concept stage. Not a good model for the complex and object oriented programs. So not suitable for the projects where the requirements are at the a moderate to high risk of changing. High risk of changing. These are the limitations of Agile. So limitations of waterfall model. So what is Agile methodology? In the Agile methodology, each project is broken up into several iterations. Whatever we are showing here, so it will be broken up into the several iterations. All the iterations should be the same time duration the between 2 to 8 weeks. So Suresh said right. So our application is something like the duration is between 2 weeks. So at the end of the each iteration, a working product should be delivered. Something like a develop, design, discover. So develop, design. If anything goes on this iteration, it will be easy to find out and it will be easy to resolve. Something like a develop, design, and discover. Develop, design. These are the three iterations. Three iterations we are doing the agile methodology. Agile methodology. So something like if comes into the agile methodology, there will be a concept of continuous, so continuous integration and continuous deployment. Continuous integration and continuous deployment. So what is the continuous integration? CI, CI/CD. So continuous integration and continuous deployment. So in the Agile methodology, there will be a concept of CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment. So how it will something like in this limitations of Agile methodology, something like a code works fine in my laptop. Something like a developer saying something like a code works fine in my laptop. So want to change, but the operations team there is some problem with the code. It does not work in the production. Does not work in the production. Operation team means a Linux engineer. So who will deploy our code? Deploy our code in the operations engineer. So who will integrate the code? Something like a develop and integrate the code. So a develop. So the development team wants a change and operations team wants a stability. So there is some problem with the code. It does not work in the production. So there is a gap between a development team, operations team. So how we can reduce something like there is solution called as a DevOps. So DevOps is a methodology, DevOps is a culture. So we can use the tools, a developer, we can use the developer, we can so the development team and operations team work together and automate the process. Work together and automate the process. Something like operations use some of the tools and developer use some of the tools we can automate and so we can automate the application. So I can automate the application. So solution is a DevOps. DevOps is a methodology or DevOps is a culture. DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is a methodology or a culture. So and development team of operations team work together and automate the process is nothing but a DevOps. So in this process, we need to use some of the tools to automate the process. So what is the automation? So what is the automation? Why we need automation? Something like here. So something like so developer develop the code for the using the CI/CD in the CI/CD. So we have a tools, multiple tools. You can install the tools, plugins, for example, Git plugin. So whatever the new code developer develop that code. So CI/CD. So CI/CD provides some of the tools, Jenkins, Hudson, something like nowadays GitLab. So everyone provides the CI/CD solution. So in this CI/CD, it automate the continuous and it automate the process. Something like in the integration, in the integration part, something like whatever the developer develop that code, take that Git, it automatically from Git to RCI. So Jenkins or something like, for example, Jenkins tuck that code and build the code through the Maven, then it deployed on the application. So deployed on the application. Yeah. So this is the integration and integration CI/CD part. So what are the objects are using for the CI/CD integration? Something like CI/CD, we can use the Jenkins, Bamboo, Hudson, GitLab, GitHub. So how we can something like a plan, code, build, test, deploy, operate, or monitor. So operator and monitor. Something like what are the plan? So what are the code? So what are the build? What are the test? What are the deploy? Operate, monitor. You see, before it is everything. This is the integration. This is a deployment. So this is the integration part. This is the deployment part. So in Jenkins, they are providing the CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment. How we can do it? Something like a plan, code, plan and code. That is part of a plan and code. So who will take care of a Git subversion, something like a Jira. So build, there will be a Maven and Gradle. For testing purpose, there will be a C unit. For the automating purpose, we can use this tool and automate the process. So this is the integration part. This is the deployment part. So deploy, operate, monitor. In the deploy, operate, monitor process, so for deploying and operate purpose, they are using Docker, Agron, Puppet, Chef, Ansible, Star. And monitor purpose, they are using Nagios, Splunk, Salt. So these are the tools. So these are the tools to automate the process. So these are the DevOps tool to automate the process. Automate the process. Guys, now you understand? Guys,
Can
you
you go
guys are
back?
understood what is, yeah?
Yes. Can you go back to the previous screen?
Yes.
Right there. I just want to take a picture of it.
This one?
No, one more. Yeah, right
This
there.
one?
Hmm.
Okay.
I just want to take a picture of it.
Want me to get a?
I got it.
Okay. So something like a DevOps stages. So what are the DevOps stages? In the DevOps stages, something like a version control, continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. So for this, what are the tools using for this to achieve this? Something like, so version control. Version control, something like it maintains a different versions of a code. Different versions of a code. So different versions of a code. So something like first initially it start a chat and contacts. Then so the second release something like this is a WhatsApp 1.0. WhatsApp 1.0. WhatsApp 1.0. There will be something like a dot jar. In the dot jar, so there is a chat and contacts. Chat and contacts. So the first version, so there will be a chat and contacts. In the second version, something like a WhatsApp 2.0. So 2.0 dot jar. In the second version, something like they added a chat status and contacts. For example, so they added a chat and chat status and contacts. The next 3.0, they added a voice call. In the 4.0, they added a video call. The 5.0, something like it. They added a UPA. So something like they are adding the futures on every release, on every release. Am I correct, Suresh? Suresh, you there?
Yep. Yeah, right.
Right. Something like the features will be adding on the releases. So something like so how we can add a new feature in this release. Something like you are seeing, for example, in any bank information, you got the message there will be a maintenance, right?
So it's mostly about features and also new
New,
applications.
yes.
Yes, new
So
releases. Those
maintenance.
are the
So what is
work. Yeah.
yeah, good. So what is the maintenance? So maintenance will be on something like a non-business hours. So maintenance will be on a non-business hours. Non-business hours means something like in the night time. So there will be adding a new feature. How they can add something like so for example in this server a WhatsApp 1.0 jar is deployed. So we need to add the WhatsApp 2.0. So then the operation engineer log into the server and take the backup take the backup of something like a WhatsApp 1.0 0 dot jar underscore backup. So then he copied whatever the build, the second jar build. So we can deploy, we can move it in, we can copy it in the allocation of the default path. So OPT Tomcat web apps WhatsApp 2.0. So whatever the features in the 2.0, it will be effective. Before that, it will be stop the web server and start the web server. So deploy the web server and start the web servers. So we got the new feature. There is a contact, there is a contacts. So after that, I want to deploy a 3.0. So there will be again maintenance window. So in that maintenance window, so they will be deploying a new 3.0 jobs. In that 3.0, there will be a voice call. So developers develop the new features and deploy it on the application. Deploy it on the web server. Deploy it on the web server. Yes. So something like a version control. What is the version control? So version control, they are using the, so in the which stage, in the the plan in code, something like whatever the code developer develop that code, it will be copied in the Git repository. It will be copied in the developers develop that code and copy it in the Git repository. Git repository. So Git repository is nothing but a version control. So version control. So version control. I already told you, right, guys? Um, So there will be a 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. So the version control system. So whatever the code developer develop that code and copy it in a Git repository. So it will maintain a source code management. So Git repository is nothing but a source code management. It is a version control system. So it is a version control system. Version control system. So the Git will take that code and so maintains the different versions of the code. Maintains the different versions of the code. This is the source code management. So whatever the developer develop that code and push it to the Git repository. So once got the code from the source code management, then it will be go to the continuous integration. So how can we got the code? So Jenkins take that code. Jenkins CI/CD is the tool. So take that code and so deploy it on the yeah. So Jenkins is the CI/CD tool. In that Jenkins, whatever the developer develop that code, commit that code into a shared repository. The Jenkins, so like Git, it automatically get the code. A Jenkins server get the code and build the code. Build means a compile, code review, unit testing, integration testing. Then finally, a package, a var or jar package aware or jar. So this is a SCI, continuous integration. So in the path of continuous integration, what we are using? So we are using the Git and the adapt something for integration for building purpose. They are using the some of the tools, something like I will show it first. Yeah, some of the tools, something like a Maven and Gradle. For this building means a dot var dot jar, something like a testing. So there will be compile, code review, unit testing, integration testing. So in this purposely they are using something like a IC, SE, SC, JUnit. They are the plugins for compiling the code. For compiling the code. Compile, validate, continuous integration means compile, validate, code review, unit testing, and integration testing. So this will be in the continuous build process. So then it moved to the continuous delivery. Continuous delivery means deploying the build application to the test servers from performing a UAT, user acceptance test. This is the continuous testing. This is the continuous testing. Something like once we deploy the code, continuous delivery. Something once we deploy the code, so once we build the code, Jenkins again took that build, then it deploy it on the server. Deploy it on the server. So deploy it on the server. So this is the continuous delivery. Continuous delivery. So continuous deployment also. So continuous deployment, deploying the tested application on the production servers for the release. So configuration management and containerization. So what is that? Configuration management are Ansible, Puppet, Chef, and containerization are something like a. So we deploy our application to the application in the container and the container. So we need to build the infra. What we need, IAC tool is need. IAC means infra as a code. The code is Terraform. The code is a Terraform. So source code management, the management of the documents, computer programs, a large website, and other collection of information will be so in the source code management. So what is a centralized version control system? What is a distributed version control system? So centralized means so there will be only one server, so only working copy. If you commit that server, so if something goes wrong on the server, the data will be crashing. So that's the reason a new tool called as a distributed version control. So in the distributed version control system, Git is the Git is the tool, we can use that. So in that there is a repository, local repository will be there. If something goes wrong on the remote, so we have a copy it on the local repository also. Local repository also. Source code management. Git is a distributed version control tool that supports distributed non-linear workflows by providing the data assurance for developing quality of a software. Something like a working, it is a local repository and remote remote. If something goes on the remote repository, we have a local repository. The code will be in the local repository. So continuous integration. So continuous integration means, so something like whatever the up to building. So take whatever the developer develop that code and take that code and build the dart var or jar. In the process of a compile, code review, unit test, integration testing, there will be some of the tools. Use the tool and automate the process. So continuous delivery. Continuous delivery, something like a after building the packaging the var or jar, it will deploy to the server is nothing but a continuous delivery. Continuous delivery. So in the configuration management is the practice of handling changes systematically so that the system maintains its integrity over the time. So configuration management ensures that the current design and build state of the system is known as a good and structure. So it does not rely on the technical knowledge of the development team. Something like so this is a Ansible server. So if you want to deploy it on the if you want to deploy the code on the dev environment, test environment, prod environment, it automatically takes. If you use the so if you use something like if you use the Ansible, Ansible is a configuration management tool. Ansible to deploy or implement into the dev test to prod environment. So code for the infrastructure, provisioning dev test prod environments by writing the code in the containerization allocation. Something like so configuration management, Puppet, Chakko, Ansible, Saltok, these all are the configuration management tools. But nowadays Ansible is the most popular configuration management tool. Why we need Ansible configuration? Ansible. So Ansible is a agentless so agentless configuration management tool. Something like if you deploy any application, so something in the server. So if you create a playbook and run that playbook, it automatically send the code, whatever jar or where want you to send it to the application server. So it automatically sends to the a code to the code through Ansible server. So why we don't use Puppet, Chef and Puppet? Chef and Puppet are the agent based communication protocol. So if in the target server, whatever the application server, so if in the target server the agent is not running, HF or Puppet agent is not running, so we cannot deploy our code to that target servers. So there is a drawback. This is the agent-based communication protocol, but Ansible is the agentless configuration, any agentless configuration management tool. So Ansible is something like the module-based concept. It is a ML language, it markup language, and so we can use layman language. Ansible is a layman language, so everyone can understand and write the code easily. Write the code easily. It's a module-based configuration management tool. What is Ansible? Ansible is a configuration management deployment orchestration tool. It is a push-based configuration management tool. It automates your entire IT infrastructure by providing large productivity gains. So it is to install simple and easy, something like a containerization. So before that, I already told you, right? The physical virtualization, containerization. So we'll deploy our application in the small part of something like a Docker container. It will be your OS and a Docker. The container will be a 700 MB, something like below 1 GB. So these are the containers. A container will deploy into the images Docker container. So in the virtual machine, a Docker container will be installed. Then it will be image of the Docker. In the Docker hub, we can We can staging the server or production servers from Docker Hub. There is a registry called Docker Hub. The Docker Hub we can deploy our code into the staging and production servers. Continuous monitoring. So what is continuous monitoring? How we can monitor our servers? How we can monitor our servers and services through the Nagios. And ELK. ELK is a Elastic Log Stash and Kibana. So this is the a log monitoring tool, something like a developers doesn't have a production access. So how they can see the application log. See the application log. There is no access to see the logs in the production. So there is a tool called ELK, Elasticsearch Log Stash. So you can use that tool. They configure the logs, whatever the logs they want. Something like they want a Catalina log, something like they want a something like a Tomcat logs. They want a something like so they can configure it. They can configure it in the ELK and it will see in, so there will be a tool. So it will connect to the ELK tool and you can through the internet and you can search the whatever the application log they want. So this is the DevOps and DevOps tool we are using and something like it. So Linux also we used on this, right? I already told Linux plus AWS plus DevOps. So initially I will tell you the from the sketch what is the OS, why need OS. So everything will be discussed on the and the environments also. What is a production environment? What is a non-production environment? What is their environment? Why we need these environments? I will tell you in the course. Something like what is Amazon Web Services? AWS is a cloud provider. They provide with services and servers that you can use on demand and scale easily. So AWS has a revolutionized IT over time. AWS powers some of the biggest websites in the world. So what are the biggest websites? Amazon.com also uses Amazon Web Service. So and Netflix also uses Amazon Web Service. So what we will learn in this course, something like Amazon EC2, ECR, ECS, Elastic Beanstalk, Lambda, Auto Scaling, IAM, KMS, S3, SES, RDS, Aurora, DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, SQS, SCNS, something like a CloudWatch, CloudFormation, CloudTrail, Gateway, Balancing, CloudFront, Kinesis, Route 53. Something like some of the servers are they are introduced. I will show you once we start AWS history of AWS, how it comes, something like so Dropbox, Airbnb, NASA, Netflix. They are using the AWS. AWS cloud number factor. What are the leaders of the AWS? So something like what are the leaders? Say Amazon Web Services are the leaders. Microsoft Azure, Google is the cloud, Google GCP. So in 2019, AWS had a something like 35.0 billion annual income revenue. AWS accounts for 47 of the market in the 2019. Microsoft is second with the 22%. So pioneer and leader of the AWS cloud market for the ninth consecutive year. So over a 10 lakh active users will be there in the AWS. So what are the challenges? There is no challenges. What are the nice players? Alibaba Cloud, Oracle Cloud, Amazon Cloud. These are the nice players. So AWS Cloud use cases. AWS enables you to build sophisticated, scalable applications applicable to a diverse set of industries. Use cases include enterprise IT, backup storage, big data analytics, website hosting, mobile, social apps, gaming, everything. Everything will be do it on the AWS Cloud. So McDonald's, 21st Century Fox, Activision, Netflix, they are using the Amazon. They're using the Amazon. So AWS is a global infrastructure, something like a region-based availability zones and data centers, edge locations will be are there. So something like a region is nothing but a so this is the region. So we will show it in the class, guys. Learn it in the so availability zone. In the availability zone, data centers will be there. So points of presence. So IAC tools, Terraform is the so we will tell you in the Terraform. So in the IAC tool, how we can. So what is the configuration management versus infrastructure orchestration? Ansible, Chef, Puppet are the configuration management tools, which means that they are primarily designed to install and manage software on existing servers. Terraform, CloudFormation are the infrastructure orchestration tools, which basically means by means they can provision the servers and infrastructure by themselves. So configuration management tools can do some degree of infrastructure provisioning, but the focus of here is that some of the tools are going to be better fit for the certain types of software. Something like a Terraform is for the infrastructure orchestration. Configuration management tool is nothing but a, which means then they are primarily designed install manage software on existing servers. I want to install Tomcat Java or something like I want to install Git on the provisioned server provisions or newly provisioned servers. So we can use the configuration management tool. So what is the best tool for the configuration? Ansible is the best tool for the configuration management tool. So this is the demo, guys.